Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Hope you're doing very well. Hope you're having a great weekend. Also, I hope you're staying safe and healthy. So today I'm just doing an improv video. I thought of this yesterday and I thought I have a moment to sit down and do a video for you guys. It's not going to be makeup related, so apologies in advance. You probably will see by my title. But basically I thought I would do like another list for you, like my top 5 favorite controversial movies. And I don't know why I thought of controversial movies. I am doing like a horror list for you guys, so that will be coming soon. I'm not sure when, but it will be soon. But I thought controversial movies because why not? Like, I love movies. I have done for basically ever since I was able to like watch a movie. So basically all my life I've been growing up and just watching all genres of movies. And when it comes to um controversial ones, obviously I saw them, the ones I'm going to list, the ones that I saw like kind of as an adult. And basically I'm not going to have your kind of Human Centipede, Serbian movie, because I've seen those movies. I absolutely hate them. I think they're terrible movies. But the thing is, at least with the 5 that I'm going to mention, they are at least like well respected movies in my opinion. And essentially I will talk about why they're controversial, why I love them, and just kind of everything based around it. Just kind of using my film knowledge, because like I mentioned, I love film. If you know me well, you know that I am a big horror fan, hence the t-shirt. And just film in general. But when it comes to controversial movies, I if I could make a top 10 list, I kind of would, but then there's a middle ground of like controversy as opposed to it just being something like Saw, or even movies like Sallow or Caligula, which might have been in my top 5. It's not, but I kind of think it's a bit of a terrible movie. I've only seen it a few times. And as much as I love Malcolm McDowell, he is a fantastic actor, even though he's in a lot of shit. Caligula is quite up there, like for his movies, what people know him by. But that movie sadly will not be in my list. So I'm gonna start with number 5. My number 5 is Natural Born Killers by Oliver Stone. Now that movie, when I was growing up, I really, really wanted to watch it, but at the time it wasn't available. I think growing up in the 90s, there's had all these movies of just like controversy, and all the movies that I've chosen are very kind of 70s, kind of 80s movies. But Natural Born Killers, I believe, was made in the 90s. I don't have my copy on me, it's in my shelf somewhere. I only have one of my like actual DVD copy to show you what I have, which I'm very annoyed about because I should be more prepared. But like I mentioned, this is just an improv video that I made. But again, so it stars Woody Harrelson, Juliette Lewis, and also Robert Downey Jr. kind of around his era of like being a naughty boy before he was Iron Man, before most people know who he is now. But essentially it's basically a couple meet, they fall in love, and they go on this kind of killing spree, and they are wanted by the police, and they obviously, well, I'm gonna say spoilers even though this movie is over 20 years old. Yeah, they get caught and they become like TV, heroes. Basically, that's many reasons why it's quite controversial, because essentially you're on the side of the killers. And like I said, they go on a killing spree and they just have fun, and you're kind of like, these guys are mental, but you kind of relate to them slightly. I mean, if you kind of grow up from a troubled childhood and you find someone who is your savior, and then you just start killing people, okay, cool. It's just what I love about it is just Oliver Stone as a director is amazing, and he is not one for not making not controversial movies. Like, I was looking at a list of what you would call controversial, and JFK is up there. And I love that movie. Gary Oldman's in it, Kevin Costner's in it. It's a fantastic film. But then you look at Natural Born Killers, which I feel is more controversial as opposed to something like JFK. But you know, the way it's visually done, like the kind of lighting that they use for some of the scenes, and the music is fantastic. They use Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, who is a Pakistani singer, and his music, oh my god, it's like I grew up listening to his music because my granddad used to listen to it, and have his music incorporated in the film, it's fantastic. And just getting, you know, a culturally different music just out in Hollywood basically. But yeah, I got to see this movie when I was at least, I had to be like 18, because when I was living with my parents, my dad, I think, did have a copy, but he just did not let me watch it. And then the first time I ever watched it, I was a bit like, this movie is amazing. Like, the cast is great, everyone in it is amazing. Tommy Lee Jones is great in it as well, being so miserable as per usual. But yeah, I highly recommend it if you've never seen it. It's a hard one to watch kind of sometimes, but it is amazing. Check it out. So number 4 is probably going to be one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's The Exorcist by William Friedkin. Of course, there has been no remakes, thankfully. Please don't ever remake this movie. And you know, if you haven't heard of The Exorcist, you know, how you living your life, it is one of the greatest, most beautiful films ever made. Of course, it stars Linda Blair and Max von Sydow, who passed away just like a week ago. And yeah, William Friedkin is an amazing director. If you've not seen French Connection, please check out that as well, with Gene Hackman. And also The Conversation with Gene Hackman as well. And also just a couple of other movies that he's made are quite weird. But when it comes to The Exorcist, that's what people know him the most for. And when I watched this, I think I was pretty young. It was just insane. It is in one of my top favorite horror films, so spoilers for the future video of me making my top 10 horror films. But when it comes to the controversy around this, I mean, I don't know if I need to explain it, but it's, you know, a 15, 14-year-old girl, you know, just saying really naughty words basically, and you know, jerking off with a crucifix. And you know, if you don't find that controversial, you don't find that freaky, then are you okay? Like, I'm joking, but just like, you know, that shit is freaky. And I guess at the time, people were known to like run out of the cinema screaming, fainting, crying, and I'm just like, okay, like now you wouldn't think of it like that, because you know, movies like Saw and Hostel, I fucking hate Hostel, but you know, Saw movies, those are my guilty pleasures. I like those movies. But when you look at something like The Exorcist, it's very psychological, it's very thought-provoking, you know, it's very a religious movie, because you know, a lot of people who are Christians and, you know, just be like, oh god, this movie is not very nice to our religion. But it's more about dealing with, you know, exorcisms and religion, and just seeing if someone is mentally well or mentally unwell. But yeah, Exorcist, beautiful movie. Number 3, I actually have the DVD Blu-ray on me. It is Last Tango in Paris. If you know, this is directed by Bernardo Benucci. If you know me, you know Brando is my boy. He is my favorite director. No, he has made some films, but he is my favorite actor of all time. And when I first watched this, I was like, this is insane. Because if you look at the movies kind of made prior to this that he did, was like The Godfather, you know, and just, you know, back when he was first making movies, he was like an icon, a sex icon, just absolutely gorgeous, perfect. And then after The Godfather, he kind of lost the plot a bit. So if you don't know, he was nominated, no, he won the Oscar for The Godfather, and he did not accept it. He actually was kind of, you know, being opposed to Hollywood because of the way that they treated Native Americans. And you know, if you know about the story, he kind of got someone to do the speech for him, and he said he rejected it, blah blah blah. And he did get nominated for Last Tango in Paris, but he didn't win it. I don't know who won that year, I should have done the research, but I just could not remember off the top of my head. But a reason why this is controversial, this is a movie about sex, basically. This is a movie of two people of very different age scales, both, going through possibly dark moments of their life. I mean, not even to like spoil it, but basically, Brando's character's name is Paul. His wife kills herself, and he's just going through this kind of mental turmoil. He's finding somewhere to live, and he meets this girl who she looks like she's about 15, but I think I didn't know. Yeah, it says 20. She's 20. And she is basically finding somewhere else to live as well. And they just have this attraction. I don't know how you would call it that, I don't know, but they just have a shit ton of sex basically. She's engaged to like marry someone, and the reason you can call this controversial, I guess, I mean, I don't think it's very controversial, apart from recently they're coming out where, if you don't know this movie, there's a scene where he does essentially kind of rape her anally, which is a bit fucked up because he gets some butter. Do the research if you don't know, but hopefully you have seen the movie if you know what I'm talking about. But it came, to light recently that the actress didn't know that that scene was going to happen, and only Brando and the director knew it was happening, which is very shitty. It's not a nice thing to have happened, and I didn't know that until obviously I read the article recently. It came out because I know the director, he died a few years ago, and that's when it came to light. But I think this movie is great. Like, it's visually amazing, and it's, some of it is in French, but there's subtitles. But I just think this is one of his last great movies, to be honest, because after this he went off the rails and yeah, made some shit movies. But yeah, check out the film if you kind of like those kind of movies. It's not for everyone, but I guess with the controversy around it, that's why it's on this list. We come to number 2, which is a list that is on, no, sorry, is a film that is on my top 10 lists of all time. It is Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick. I love this movie. It's, it is just, it's my third favorite film of all time. If you had not seen my list, spoilers. But yeah, this movie, I mean, the controversy around it is so obvious. I mean, Kubrick pulled it himself. He, before, I think the film, it didn't even come out yet, and they were actually, I think, no, it did come out, and then all the kind of controversy started coming around it, because obviously it's very violent and it's fucking crazy. And yeah, so they pulled it for a very long time, and it wasn't until I think Stanley had died that they had just decided to bring it out. Could be wrong on that sense, but I didn't get to watch it until I was at least, not maybe just turning 18, 19, and that's when my dad had actually like a pirate copy of it. So this is before it was released again, and I didn't get a chance to watch it until much later on. So I think I was at least like 18 or 19 when I got to watch it. And again, Malcolm McDowell is fantastic in it. He just makes the movie, like I mentioned in my top 10 movie, it was like his second film, and the first film he made was If, which is amazing. And I actually went to a Q&A recently, no, it was like last year, was it last year or the year before, I can't remember, where he was talking about the film basically. So we got to watch the film, and then he was there after for about half an hour just talking about the film, and I wanted to ask him a question, I never got to, that's fine. But yeah, it was just nice to just see him, because he has been in so many movies when you think about it. Not all of them are good, obviously, like Caligula I mentioned. But I will watch it and give it another go soon, because I got it from the pound shop like a week ago and I haven't had a chance to watch it. And that's a movie that would have been in, if I was doing a top 10 controversial movies, it would have been in that, but it's not, so sorry. But that movie is just as like fucked up. If you think something Last Tango in Paris is overly sexualized, Caligula is, fuck, like, time it by 100. It's insane. But sorry, talk about Clockwork Orange. Yeah, controversial just in the sense of you know, just violence, and you rooting for the main person who is violent and killing people, going to prison, being released early, and because of, you know, this whole chemically balanced life that they're doing for him. So, you know, that iconic scene where he's got his eyes open and he's watching all these movies and it's making him sick, because obviously the more, like, when you watch violence, it makes you feel sick. And that's essentially kind of like, oh, if that works, we should try it. But, you know, they've never done anything like that. So before I go on to my number one, obviously there's so many movies that I've seen that I wanted to add in this list, but I couldn't. You know, movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like a lot of horror films basically. But again, I wanted to do just top five because I didn't want to make this video any longer than I'm making it already. So I'm already up to like 15 minutes and I'm just rambling on. I haven't got to my number one yet. But my number one favorite controversial movie of all time, which would have been in my top 10 favorite movies, but for some reason at the time I didn't think of it, is The Devils by Ken Russell. It is just one of the most amazing movies, and I didn't know about it until like after Ken Russell had died. So basically, long story short, Mark Kermode and I know Ken Russell were kind of friends, and Mark Kermode wanted to bring the movie back kind of more out there, just because not a lot of people knew about it, or that it was very controversial when it came out, and so it wasn't available to watch or purchase. Sorry, my foot's going dead, I'm just kind of making move around. And that's how I kind of got to know about it. It was not even about 8 years ago. He then had like got it released via the BFI, and there were also a cut that is very like messed up, and I have seen that version because I went to the BFI to watch it. That's how much I love this film. So yeah, basically, long story short, because you know it's quite a weird story to talk about, but it's set in France in, I believe, like the 1700s. I could be wrong on that year. And basically there's a nun played by Vanessa Redgrave who is basically like an overly sexualized nun. Like, she, you know, nuns can't have sex, they can't get married, blah blah blah, and she falls in love kind of with a priest played by Oliver Reed, who is just amazing in this movie. And he obviously is like a bit of a womanizer. He, you know, falls in love with this woman, but he impregnates like a younger girl who, you know, kind of falls in love with him, and he's like, look, I can't be with you because I'm a priest, fuck off, basically. And she kind of, you know, says that he, you know, attacked her and raped her and stuff like that. And the nun kind of makes up a story that the same happened to her, and they believe that he's a witch, or he's doing like witch trials and stuff like that. And he just fucks up. So he's not a very nice person, but the stuff that happens to him is insane. It's quite a confusing story to kind of explain to you, so you just have to watch it. But it is very messy. It's fucking not messy in the sense of it's a messy film, as in like the story is insane, the characters, and apparently it's based on a real life story. But you know, Vanessa Redgrave is amazing in this. Like, her and Oliver Reed are like pioneers of British cinema. And to have a movie like this, and especially Ken Russell, he is one of the most amazing directors. He is very underrated because of the movies that he made. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned Tommy the Musical by The Who. He directed that. It's like my favourite musical of all time. And he did Altered States with William Hurt, and he's done a ton of other movies. But for me, The Devils is always going to be like my number one film by him. And yeah, like I mentioned, I got to see it in the BFI, and Mark Kermode introduced it and kind of spoke about it. And it's basically a cut that they called, like, sorry if this offends anyone, but it's called The Rape of Christ, which is a kind of additional scene where the nuns in the church just go fucking berserk. They all just like take their clothes off, they just start going mad and just start raping. You to see my face is like, how much I'm going to explain this. Good thing I'm not monetized yet. they start just like molesting this statue of Jesus. And yeah, it's crazy, but don't let that put you off the movie, because if you love controversial movies, this is up there, because visually it's amazing, everyone in it is amazing. Yeah, that's all I can kind of say about it, to be honest. But yeah, that is my top 5 list, and I hope you have enjoyed my list. I hope I have, you know, broadened your horizon in fucked up movies. Don't think I mean, you know, I'm a little bit fucked up, but you know, when it comes to the movies, that's separate from life. But I will be doing my top 10 horror movies, because I mean, it's difficult to narrow down horror movies for me, because it's one of my favorite genres. But that will be coming soon, not, you know, within the next couple of days or anything, but very soon when I make the list. But if you have any favorite controversial movies that you would think I would like, leave them in the leave them in the comments. Oh my god, why do I keep on saying that? But yes, thank you so much for watching. Give a like, subscribe, because I'm almost at 50, almost. And yeah, I hope y'all see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.